Hello everyone.
Hello, everyone. Let's wait for a few more minutes till everyone joins and then we can start.
Feel free to drop in where you're from so that we can know where everyone is from.
Hey, David. Hey, Harvish.
Hello. Spain, New York, DC. Amazing. I can see from all around the world.
Wow,
Portugal.
Portugal. So we have somebody from Spain, somebody from Portugal. We have a lot of people from US. Nice.
Colombia. Nice.
So we have somebody from Cairo, Egypt as well.
Awesome.
Hey, Ahmed, Brazil. It's like truly global, right? And we see people from Mexico, Brazil, Egypt, Portugal, Spain. Awesome.
Let's wait for 30 more seconds before we get started for others to join. Great. Okay, let's get started. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Securing EKS with Teleport. I'm Nivathan Somasundharam. I'm implementation engineer at Teleport. I've been here for almost a year. I live in San Jose, California, and today I'm partnering with Chintan on this webinar. I'll let Chintan to introduce himself.
So thanks, Nivathan. Hey guys, this is Chintan Sanghavi. I'm a partner solution architect. And as a part of this role, I work with many ISV solution providers, right, and help them to integrate with various AWS services, right, and help them in creating the product and the roadmap and other things. I joined AWS around 3 years ago, and prior to that, I was working with many investment banks and the banking and financial services companies, and helping them to build products. So that's my background. Nice to meet all of you guys.
Nice. Thanks, Chintan. So here's a quick agenda for today's webinar. Let's start with introduction to Teleport, and then Chintan will go over AWS shared responsibility model in respect to EKS. Then we can cover some challenges involved in delegating access to EKS, and also see how to solve them with Teleport. And finally, I can share a good demo about Teleport with EKS clusters. And followed by that, we can do some Q&A at the end. So here is how engineers access infrastructure today. We all know that secured infrastructure access is hard. As an engineer, we want to access various pieces of infrastructure like Kubernetes clusters, servers, Windows machines, databases, CI/CD systems, and how we all access those resources is a good question. It's either through a bastion, VPN, or any kind of securities like passwords, SSH keys, and this list just goes on. So everywhere there is a dependency for either a secret or VPN like perimeter security, always involved in this infra access. If a single piece of this infrastructure get compromised, the blast radius will be huge. To address this issue, let's see how Teleport solves them. You all can see how better it is now. I'm going to introduce you to one of those rare times when a security solution makes it faster for engineers to do their job done with increasing security at the same time. Many organizations we speak with have implemented security solution, but developers didn't adopt. Why? Because they are pain to use and developers are smart enough to get around them. If you want someone to adopt a security solution, it has to be dead simple. And that's what Teleport has done with identity native infrastructure access. Let's get right into it. Identity native comprised of two things. One is secretless, the other one is zero trust. So Teleport is a combination of both these concepts. So let's get into secretless first. So there are passwords which is always being stolen or phished. So let's try to avoid legacy PAM systems or key walls to manage passwords. Developers or engineers have to fight to get access to systems. Let's try to avoid that by eliminating secrets. And the second one is identity native. Second part of identity native is zero trust that aligns with Google's Beyond Corp initiative for securing their own infrastructure. Zero trust completely throws out an idea of access between humans and machines. It is identity based on identity. The primary component of zero trust is an internet facing proxy that controls access between resources from any location and without legacy VPN kind of solutions. So, this prevents any risk involved with access. So, let's see how identity native infrastructure works in respect to Teleport. Here is the high level architecture diagram of Teleport. Identity native proxy sits in between users and machines on one side. On the other side, there is infrastructure resources like Kubernetes clusters, server, databases, Windows machines, application, CI/CD systems, all that. Teleport itself is a certificate authority. Whenever an engineer logs into Teleport proxy by proving his or her identity, they are provided with a short-lived X509 certificate so that they can access the cluster. So by accessing the cluster based on roles, they will be like Teleport decides whether they can access a piece of infrastructure or not. Teleport can also be integrated with SSO providers like Okta, Azure AD, GitHub, and you can still maintain your SSO providers itself as an identity source. Teleport also has fine-grained RBAC controls. So you can leverage that for customizing roles and stuff inside Teleport. And everything is audited in form of audit logs, and you can integrate that with any SIEM integration and send them to something like Elasticsearch. And users can also request for access through Teleport, and it can be you can integrate your workflow like Slack, Jira, PagerDuty, and all those. Teleport integrates also well with a wide range of AWS resources, and also we are platform agnostic. Teleport can integrate well with all your day-to-day workflows, and you can connect like 170 plus cloud-based resources right now with Teleport. And finally, Teleport is open source, and this speaks to our DNA. If you compare us with legacy solutions, the key difference is Teleport is user friendly for developers, and developers love Teleport. At Teleport, we have created a solution from ground up with developers, DevOps engineers, and SREs in our minds. Our founding team came from this world and very experienced on this space, and saw the problems firsthand. This is what truly make us different, and why we are being open source is so important for us. Now I'll pass on to Chintan to discuss AWS shared responsibility model with EKS.
Mhm. Thanks a lot, Nivathan. Right. But then before we go, right, I mean, can we do a poll on this? I mean, how many of you are actually using currently a teleport? Right? And we have created a poll here. So if you don't mind, can you go and let us know what is your view? I mean, whether you are using teleport or not. Right? And let's pause maybe for 2-3 minutes, and then once the poll is completed, we can start with the shared responsibility model and EKS. So, Kat, if you don't mind, can you start the poll? Cool. Awesome. So we have like so many people already using teleport, which is great, and we have some people not using teleport. I see some votes. Well, people are saying they are using something similar as well. I mean, if you don't mind, can you let us know in chat what other products and what solution are you using it for this? Some
Awesome.
cool. Nice, awesome. Right. So we have like so many people using already teleport. A lot of people not using teleport. Okay. Cool. So I think we can start, right? And as Nivedhan mentioned, Teleport can actually help a lot in identity and access management and providing a better control on top of EKS, right? So in the next few slides, I'm going to talk about the AWS shared responsibility model and what are the responsibility and what are the security concerns that we should be considering as a part of the EKS development. Right? Okay. So Nivedhan, can you go to the next slide? Cool. So before we go into the shared responsibility model, I mean, let's see. I mean, what are the the services, or what are the container services available on AWS, right? So mainly on orchestration perspective, AWS provides two services. One is the EKS, which we already know, which is based on the Kubernetes. Another is the Elastic Container Services, what we call it as the ECS. Now, this is mainly for the orchestration where you can deploy this entire container workload on that. Now, you can run EKS in two different types of compute engines. You can use your EC2 instances, or you can create EC2 instances and then run Kubernetes on top of it. This is required when you want to manage the overall infrastructure and you want to take care of the underlying OSs and other things. Right? And we have serverless offering as well, which is AWS Fargate. In that scenario, the developer and the companies need not have to worry about the underlying infrastructure, and they can use the serverless infrastructure completely. Right? And so these are the ways we have, these are the different types of services we have in AWS. For this webinar perspective, we are going to focus on EKS and EC2, right? And that's where our main focus is going to be. Right? Okay. Nivathan, can we go to the next slide, please? Cool. Right. So this is our shared responsibility model, and as I mentioned, it is a shared responsibility, right? So when you have an EKS cluster, the AWS will be responsible for the overall infrastructure, right? So where we will take care of the data center, we will take care of the overall underlying infrastructure where you will run your application. So, and specifically for the EKS perspective, we take care of the entire control plane, right? So and we know that, okay, developing or designing or architecting this entire control plane is very difficult and time consuming part, right? And AWS will be responsible for that, and AWS will ensure that the control plane is very secure, right? In addition to that, if there are any other things like, say, for example, scheduler or etcd, AWS will be responsible for that, right? And you as a customer will be responsible mainly for whatever you develop on top of EKS, right? So it can be your entire customer data, whatever data you are storing it, you will be responsible for your VPC configurations and how you create VPCs, whether you will deploy your workload on the public subnet or private subnet and other things. So you'll be responsible for the overall security of it, right? And in addition to that, you also will be responsible for who is going to access and what is the level of access people or your developer will have it. I mean, that is another level of security, and you will be responsible for that. Yes, AWS will provide a lot of services which will help you to streamline the overall your responsibility part of it. And in the next few slides, I'll go a little more deep into to that. Right? Okay, and then this slide shows about the self-managed nodes and workers, where you will be responsible for the overall worker nodes. In the next slide, Nivedhan. Yeah. And this is the next slide is more about the managed nodes, and what we call it is the managed node, where AWS will be responsible for underlying the nodes as well, right? So anything related to operating systems and any AMI configurations, AWS will be responsible for that. As you can see, the responsibility of AWS when you go from non-self-managed node to managed node, it increases a little bit. And when you go to even the Fargate, the AWS will be responsible for even the VPC configuration as well, right? So where you don't have to worry about the overall the security and the scaling and other part of it, right? So that's how the AWS's responsibility will change based on the type of the installation you do or type of the deployment you do, right? Right. Okay, Nivedhan, can we go to the next slide? Cool. And so these are the few things related to the security, and this I have categorized the security related issues into 5 or 6 different categories, right? And first is related to identity and access management. So as we know, when you have like many developers working on it, they may require different types of permissions, right? Your EKS containers may have to connect to various kind of services and other privileges, and that's where identity and access management becomes really important. So within this umbrella of identity and access management, AWS provides a way to create roles, create policies and other things, and you can use these services to create the policy in such a way that it has a certain kind of permissions and people are not able to to perform any task which is not supposed to be done. Right? So that becomes like really important. In this webinar, we'll focus more on identity and access management, and we'll see how Teleport and AWS can make it very streamlined, very simple for the customers to use identity and access management along with the Teleport. Now, in addition to identity and access management, network security, infrastructure security also becomes like really important for EKS. And for infrastructure security and network security perspective, yeah, how you design your VPC, how you create subnets, it becomes like really important, right? And the various security groups and rules you apply, that becomes really important. Right? So we have seen that sometime customer will deploy everything in one particular region and then one particular availability zone, sometimes even in like public subnet. I mean, these are not the right practices of deploying or developing any application on or production application on EKS. Generally, our recommendation is to deploy it into multiple availability zones, and depending on your type of the requirement, sometimes you may need the public access, sometimes you may not need public subnets, and you can deploy these entire EKS clusters in the private subnet or mix of private and public subnet depending on the type of the usage. And for the data encryption, so now since you are responsible for the data, uh, it is going to become really important thing how you secure your data and who has an access to that data and other things. And AWS provides many services in this particular space, right? So again, identity and access management becomes very important, where you control who has an access to certain kind of data. But then you also need to understand whether you have a sensitive data or not, and that's where AWS provides services like Amazon Macy, which will help you to understand whether you have a confidential information or PII information in it or not. And you can use Macy to go and find out and scan your repository, like S3 repository, and find out whether you have a confidential information or not, and then provide the right level of secret, right level of data security. And then again, the secret management is also very important, where you store your confidential like access keys or some roles and some passwords, etc., into the secret management. Now, apart from this, overall in general about the detective controls and runtime security, we have many services like an inspector or a guard duty or WAF, which is a web application firewall. You can use these services to protect your underlying workload. You can make sure that okay, yeah, your web access is very secure and your runtime is pretty secure. So these are the kind of services we have it in. I'll after this particular webinar, I'm going to send maybe an email or something which will help you to understand what are the different services available and how can you leverage some of these services. Right? Okay. Uh, Nivathan, can you go to the next slide?
Sure.
Now let's just focus only on identity and access management. As I mentioned, yeah, AWS provides many services. I mean, you can create roles, you can create various users and policies and etc. Sometimes we have seen that customer, they don't understand the importance of the role, and they provide individual access to every developer, and that becomes really challenging to scale. And our recommendation is to create a role, assign this role to various users, and then assign policies to this role. And this way you can scale it very effectively. You can have multiple users coming in, you can assign this role to the same user or the similar set of users, and then assign permissions according to that. So you don't have to go to individual user and assign permissions and policies. Instead of that, you can create a role and the things. Secondly, uh, how you create a policy and the role and what kind of access will it have, that becomes like really important. And that's where you should follow the least privilege principles, where you create a role or you give a permission only where it is really required. I mean, sometime, yeah, somebody will have an access to say RDS database, or somebody will have an access to say S3 bucket, or some particular action like starting or stopping instances or something. I mean, just assign that permission. Make sure that okay, you provide the least privileges to that particular person, only based on whatever is required to require. I mean, only access given or creating policy only for required accesses, and that becomes like really important. And secondly is auditing. I mean, when in AWS, we have like CloudTrail. You can audit all this information. Whoever is trying to access certain kind of resources, you should periodically audit all these accesses and see whether the particular person requires an access or not. I mean, sometimes we have seen that people change the department, people move to a different role, and they may not even need these accesses anymore. And that's where the periodic access becomes like really periodic audit becomes really important, right? Where you maybe on quarterly basis or maybe on the 6 months or monthly basis, you can go and see who has what kind of permission and then change it accordingly. So these are the kind of guidelines we have it as a part of the overall EKS and making secure, making things secure. And apart from that, yes, I mean, we will do, and Nivathan is going to provide more understanding on the identity and access management and how Teleport can make it very simple. We will talk more about that. Lastly, in general, right, how you protect your EC2 instances, right? Whether you will have an access to the metadata, right? Or you will have a separate account or service account created or not. Sometimes we have seen that customer start their entire EKS clusters with the like administrative privileges and very high level privileges. So I would suggest create kind of such separate service role, and then assign it to the EKS and make sure that okay, it has only least privileges. Right? So these are the general guidelines we have in identity and access management to make sure that it is secure in terms of identity and access management. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Cool. Right. And these are the few challenges we have seen customer facing it. I mean, it can be either like managing the overall kube configuration or managing the overall policies and other things. Now we'll start on the poll, and what I would like to understand is what is your view, and in your opinion, where do you see these issues, and are you facing these issues or not? And in your opinion, what is the most important issues? And then Nivedhan will do a deep dive into some of this issue and see how Teleport can elevate this. Yeah. So, can we start the poll? Cool. And Nivedhan, if you don't mind, can we share the screen of poll tab?
Sure.
So managing roles and policies, like the highest, we are seeing the highest behavior over there, and then we also see auditing user behavior is like really tricky.
Nice.
Awesome. So it seems managing kubeconfig files is not an issue at all for most of the people, right? Cool. And this managing IAM roles and policy becomes even more critical when you have more and more users. I mean, we have seen some time customers having like 400, 500 instances or the nodes running, and then managing the permissions becomes sometimes challenging.
Auditing
Okay.
user behavior seems to be the priority number one.
Yes. And Teleport has capability where you can audit user behavior as well, and you can find out who is doing what, and then you can tune your policies according to that. Cool. Awesome. So,
Mm.
Nivathan, can you go through this poll and then dive deep into the various capabilities of Teleport in this area?
Sure. I'll start sharing my screen. Awesome. Um, So we already saw like how shared responsibility model works with EKS. Thank you for that, Chintan. And here are some challenges. So, and we have also seen from the poll, like the main challenges that I see is like developers, all the developers should have EKS, like AWS CLI access to get their kubeconfig files, and sometimes managing them is very tedious. And from the admin perspective, like managing the IAM roles and policies is tedious, and especially like when they have so many clusters, so many users, and when they have like different accounts, that really becomes challenging. And the next one is providing like elevated access. Say whenever a user wants an elevated access for a certain environment, or for a production environment, or any critical infrastructure, it again requires the admins to go and change the roles and policies to grant access for that. And as you all mentioned before, like the first priority that came on the poll results was auditing. Yeah, the auditing is sometimes challenging. I can show you how Teleport helps with auditing at the in the next stage of this webinar, and during the demo. So let's get into some of the advantages of using Teleport uh, uh, for EKS access, and how some of the challenges are solved by using Teleport. So so Teleport integrates well with SSO providers. Say you wanted to hold your identity source of truth to be your SSO provider. Teleport can integrate well, and you can inherit those groups or their characters from your SSO provider. And convert that into Teleport roles, so you can inherit them. So that is a main advantage. And you can give fine-grained access to EKS resources. This can be in any level. It can be in a cluster level, and you can give it in a namespace level. You can give as a user or group level, and then even you can give for a particular resource, like just for a pod, and you can do all that with Terraport RBAC. Here comes our auditing capabilities. Teleport has two different auditing capabilities. Like the one is uh, audit logs, like anything that happens inside a Kubernetes cluster, all the API calls will be audited, and those logs can be transported to your preferred SIEM integrations, and you can query for any vulnerable actions inside Kubernetes cluster. And the second one is session recordings. So the session recordings are something like whenever a user logs in to a pod and runs any commands, everything will be recorded in a form of video file format, and this could be used in future for any further compliance or any auditing. And the last one is just-in-time access. As I mentioned before, Teleport can also integrate well with all your workflow, like Slack, Jira, Mattermost, Teams, PagerDuty, Discord. So you can any of your developers, if they want any privileged access, they can create an access request from Teleport, and admin can either approve or deny based on their request. So that comes along with that. So you don't need to change any roles and IAM permissions on the AWS side. It can be done with Teleport itself. So let's get to the interesting part, the demo. So I'm going to show demo on three things. I'm going to show demo like how SSOs can be integrated with Teleport, and I'm going to show how fine granular permissions you can give for a user, and the third one, like how you can leverage Teleport for access request. let me go to my browser. So here is my browser, and I have this is my teleport cluster, and from UI, I am going to log in through my SSO now. Okay, I'm sharing a different screen. Let me share. Awesome. So here is my teleport cluster. I have logged in as an SSO user, and basically you can see all the inventory of servers, application, Kubernetes, databases, and desktop applications here. And now all we need to care about the Kubernetes clusters. So you can see like we have two clusters, and you can connect to these clusters, and then I'm going to show this GitHub. So me as an user, like coming from this organization and from the teams, I have given with access and all these roles. Like only we are going to care about access here. So roles, access. So this is the role that I have, and I have given access for all the Kubernetes labels and all the pods and all the namespaces and these users, and also system masters group. So basically, I have a full admin level access with. With the EKS clusters that I have. So I mean I can show that here. So teleport can be also accessed through CLI. So I'm going to log in to the teleport. To share. Okay. So TSH is our binary. So using TSH binary, I'll log into the teleport cluster now. I'm going to change my auth method. GitHub, and this is my GitHub username. So I have been already logged in. So let me log out to show you. So I'm logging into Teleport cluster again. So when I log into Teleport, Teleport automatically opens a browser, and I'm already logged into GitHub. So you can see I'm already, so authentication happens through GitHub now, and which is my SSO provider. And you can see I have been logged in as Nivathan, that is my username. And these are the groups I have permission to access. So let's see what are the Kubernetes clusters that I have access for. TSH, Cube, LS. So these are the two Kubernetes clusters that I have access to. So let me log into the first one. So I've logged into the Kubernetes clusters now. So basically, I don't need to manage any kubeconfig files right now. Like once I'm logged in, the kubeconfig files are automatically written, and I can do kubectl get parts and all the namespaces. Since I'm doing it as a super admin, I can see all the pods that it is running in this cluster, and I can also try to exec into the pods. Yeah, you can see I have exec into the parts, and let me do an ls. And exit. So I can do anything right now without having any kubeconfig files by just logging into teleport cluster. Now let's go back to the um, UI, which is on the browser, and I can show the auditing capabilities. So you can see all the audit logs here. Like you can see the Kubernetes request from the user, and you can get more details over here, like what was the user that I used to log in, and like what were the Kubernetes groups that this user was assigned with, and all that information will be here. And then you can also see there was a session recorded because I was joining a session by using kubeexec. Let's go right into it. So you can see Nivaso move with this, and it was 36 seconds. And let's play this. So I did an ls, and I did an echo. Welcome to webinar. Everything will be recorded, and this is super useful, like for compliance, or like this helps a lot of security folks to see what's happening inside the Kubernetes cluster, and this helps with auditing as well.
Mhm. Hey, Nivathan, we have one question regarding the auditing, and that question is related to how do we know who or particular person has done what kind of activities?
Yeah, it's everything based on like the roles and the username. Like if you see like audit logs, when I go to the audit logs, I and you can see like on the detail in this JSON, you can see the login name was Nivasomo, and I mean this whole JSON file gives like all the information, like who logged in, and like what were the roles associated with them, and what were the activities they were doing here, like, and these are the other activities that was going through inside the cluster.
Good. Thank you.
Awesome. So this was my first demo, and the second demo that I'm going to show is in respect to giving fine grained access. So let's go back to the roles again. So have this cube access role, like, which is very basic. They can see only parts in production and development namespace. Last time when I showed you, like they were like you were able to see all the uh, parts in all the namespaces, but here, like, I'm going to show more on the production and development namespaces. For that, I'm going to log in as a developer user, which is another user. So let me log out first. So last time we used GitHub SSO to log in. Now I'm going to use a local user, and I'm going to use passwordless features from Teleport. I have an YubiKey here. So, and I have integrated that YubiKey to log into Teleport. And from the browser, I have opened another browser in incognito mode, and from the browser you can see I can log in um, by just yeah. I have no server access. I have no application access. I have only the Kubernetes access, and only for those two namespaces which we saw earlier, which was production and development. So let's get right into the command line and log in from CLI to the as developer user. You can see the username is developer. Like, okay, my YubiKey passed, verification passed. So yeah, I'm in the cluster now, and I can share you login first as developer. And now let's try to list down parts in all the namespaces. I can only see development and production, and this is all like only read only permission on this namespace. Let's confirm that. Let's try to execute into the part. Yeah, I can't execute into the part because I don't have permissions right now. So let's see how let's see how the just-in-time access works. So let me request for those privileges and try it again.
Mm. So Nivathan, this will be a kind of very common scenario, right? Where some developers want just-in-time access and they want some approval or something.
Yeah. So basically, this is very common scenario. Like say, when a developers want a privileged access to a Kubernetes access, say they need to debug something inside the pod, and they don't want to give those permissions all the time. So they just go try to create an access request through Teleport, and they can just the admins can just approve or deny based on the request that comes in. So I'm a developer now, which was opened in incognito. So if you go to access, so there is a role name called access, which is more of elevated privileges, and you will be able to exec into the parts and do any triage whenever there is an issue going on. So during the situation, this is super useful for just-in-time access. And let's add a request, proceed to the request. submit this. So I have requested as a developer user, and somebody from the admin side should approve it or deny it. So I have this browser where I have logged in through my GitHub username, and I have the privileges to approve or deny. And here on the review request, this can be integrated with Slack and all your workflow. Like this on the admin side, they can see the request coming in and notified Slack, PagerDuty, Discord, Mattermost, Jira, and all these kinds of workflow which is already in place.
And this becomes
So
really important because sometimes we have seen that, yeah, developers really want an access, just-in-time access, but then they are waiting for an approval. Right? I mean, with
yeah,
this integration with Slack and other things, it becomes very easy and faster approval.
yes, you're 100% right. Yeah, definitely. And here, as an admin user, I can review. So I saw the same request coming in, and I can approve. And this is for 12 hours, and submit the request. So once it's approved, let's go back to the CLI, and let me try to do TSH status. And you can see I'm still a developer. So what I need to do is assume the role that I requested for. Request ls, and yes, I have to, this is the request, and you can see the status is approved. So and the ID. You can see here, I have only Kubernetes group developers, and I don't have any other permissions. So let me log in and do.
Anyway, then we have a question on this approval. So will this appear in console or this will be reflected in CLI as well?
This can be seen through CLI as well. Like as I showed you before, like on the admins, if I log in as an admin, like I can also see like all the requests that is coming in.
Cool. So we have a question on the service account and how can you restrict the access to the service accounts. Right? So every service account will have some policy associated with it, and using those policies, you can reduce the overall permissions given to that service account. Good. So you have one question, Nivedhan, and
Yeah.
this is maybe on the roadmap side. Is
Mhm.
teleport planning to integrate with any SIEM provider?
By default, like Teleport can integrate with all the same providers. So like all the like what I've seen so far is like all the third party solutions like Elasticsearch and like anything other than Elasticsearch, like all the ELK based logging tools can be used. You can integrate that with Teleport and maybe have like a collector, something like Fluentd, and which will pull the logs, all the audit logs, and send it over to all your SIEM integration. That gives you a leverage to parse through the logs and query for any vulnerable commands that is running inside Teleport. Like inside the resources that is access to Teleport, it can be Kubernetes or any other infrastructure pieces as well. So I can show the role on the UI. My YubiKey stopped working, so let me here. So this is upload from the admin side, and I'll go back as a developer. You can see like I don't have any access. So review access, and I'll assume this role. So I have assumed the role now, and I can see multiple other resources now, and even with Kubernetes I can log in to a pod, and I can see all the other namespaces as well. That's all about the just-in-time access. Yeah, let's go to. So yeah, here is the slide like where you can begin. You can join our Slack community, and we have an marketplace, AWS marketplace listings, and we have a new launch of Teleport Teams. You can sign up for early access. And join the early access list, and it's to just start something small, and you can go through some of our AWS use cases, and again, like we are open source, you can contribute to GitHub, and the GitHub link is over here. Let's get into the Q&A.
We have one more question. Let me share it on screen.
Create a teleport version of control. So I assume this will be mostly on Kubernetes side, like AWS bottle provides bottle requirements. May I know what is SSM like? Yeah, like for controlling the container level access, yes, you can leverage Teleport for that. Yeah, it could be more specific to only a particular container. It could be just a read access. You can define verbs through your roles inside the Kubernetes clusters and map those roles with the users, and that could give you a capability to just to give access to a particular pod with any verbs in it. It could be you could list the pods, read level, or maybe you can give exec into the pods or write permissions to that.
So, Nivedhan, this is the question we already answered, but then we need some more clarification.
Sure.
Let me put it on the screen. So this is related to, we were showing how using teleport somebody can understand who has access, what kind of activities has he has done. So this is
Mhm.
a follow up to that question.
So, if you call Fred has access. Okay, like say Fred has a role and they have access, and you can see how they have logged in. It can be you can see how are they using an SSO provider to log in? Are they using an a local user with an YubiKey or a Touch ID to log in? So all this information will be in the audit log as well. Like whenever there is a new session is created, or whenever someone is logging to teleport, all that information will be logged in form of audit logs, which can be exported to Seam.
Cool, awesome.
I see.
I think that's it. I think thanks a lot everyone for joining. And as Nivedhan said, I mean, Teleport is listed on the marketplace on AWS. And feel free to reach out to me as well as Nivedhan and Teleport team if you need any additional information on the AWS services or on the Teleport.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for all
Thanks a lot,
your
everyone.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.